This reservoir behind me supplies water to over half the state's population. Now it's about to get some major upgrades.
I've been doing this a long time now, and this is the worst I've seen.
I'm here in the little town of Echo where they have a big water problem.
There are other small towns and small communities out there that may be in the same situation before the fall is completed.
We'll tell you what's happening, plus what they're doing to fix it, and how this might come to other towns before the end of summer coming up.
A new study says boys here in Utah are getting a lot more exercise than girls. The reason behind the gap and why it matters.
Think of that vaccination as part of your protective equipment, like a knee pad or a helmet.
Then, with COVID cases surging and school just days away, a push for student athletes to protect themselves, to protect their season.
Work on the football field and work in the community. Why football players in Payson have to do both to earn their spot here on Friday nights.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13's Live at 5 starts right now.
This does address being able to have a reliable source.
Now at 5, a massive infrastructure project will get underway to continue providing water to more than 1.5 million people. Thanks for joining us. I'm Bob Evans.
And I'm Kelly Chapman. The infrastructure project is also being done to deal with Utah's massive growth. Fox 13's Ben Winslow reports from Deer Creek Reservoir.
Deer Creek Reservoir supplies water to over 50% of Utah's population, and the demand is only going to increase. Deer Creek Reservoir is a huge provider of water for the state. 1.5 million people get some of their water from it.
It's not necessarily the amount of water we store in here, but the amount of water that comes through here. So we have Jordanelle above us. All of their water has to come through here. And all of these surrounding mountain ranges all drain into this reservoir and have to pass through this dam to get to the providers.
The Provo River Water Users Association will start upgrading the reservoir's infrastructure, including the intake and dam guard gates, which are over 80 years old. The structures are safe.
With this infrastructure, this upgrade, we are looking to refurbish basically the plumbing of the Deer Creek Dam.
The project is designed to increase reliability of water for people downstream, but also prepare for future growth. They're also implementing measures to help guard against a quagga mussel infestation after a scare years ago.
It would destroy the ecosystem and it would wreak havoc on our infrastructure. And so with the new project we're doing, it's going to have state-of-the-art technology that will keep the quagga mussels from binding to things.
In a unique move, the project will be carried out both above ground and underwater, removing the need to drain the reservoir.
It will not be drained. Recreation will still continue, but we'll also have the ability to supply our users with water.
Innovative idea. They had to be able to do this repair without having to drain the reservoir, and that's huge, especially in a drought year like this where we need all the storage we can get.
The project costs about $60 million. The state's Board of Water Resources approved kicking in $40 million out of a revolving loan fund to help with water infrastructure projects. The state is looking at ways to expand capacity at a number of water bodies and the potential for new reservoirs down the road.
Water storage is huge for a climate like this, where we get so much of our water during the snowmelt runoff period. And if we can store that and use it later, it makes a huge difference.
Now, this construction project will kick off in 2022 and last for several years. At Deer Creek Reservoir, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
New data from the state indicates recent storms have not been helping the overall drought. The Utah Division of Water Resources says 32 of the 42 largest reservoirs in the state are now below 55% capacity. Utah Lake and East Canyon Reservoir have also dropped below 55%. But stream flows have increased as a result of the monsoonal moisture, which is some good news.
As you likely know, Utah is in a record-breaking drought right now, and it's really taking a toll on the small city of Echo. They are now dangerously close to running completely out of water.
Fox 13's Spencer Joseph went to Echo today and reports from the Weber Basin Water Conservancy District.
I'm standing right in the heart of the city of Echo. It's a historic little town with, the last time they counted at least, 56 people living here. But despite its little size, it has a big water problem. And it's a perfect example of what the state is facing because of the drought and what other towns might soon face if things don't get better.
I've been doing this a long time now, and this is the worst I've seen.
Tage Flint is the director of the Weber Basin Water Conservancy District.
It looks like we're about in a 1 in a 120-year event.
He watches over a lot of people's water.
Our district serves about 75 to 80 communities across 5 counties.
But one of the smallest is the city of Echo.
They're using springs as their water supply.
The Conservancy District doesn't always work with them because of that.
Drought will eventually impact springs just like it does everything else.
But now they're nearly out, and action needs to be taken. To start, the Weber Basin Water Conservancy District is going through their infrastructure to make it more efficient. But that isn't going to help the immediate problem.
But more importantly and more immediately, we are trucking water for them into their water tanks so that they do not run dry. With about 9 tank loads, we think that we've been able to give them a water supply for about 10 days.
Neighboring towns are also stepping up and giving them water.
It's outstanding to see how neighbors respond.
But Echo isn't known for the town. It's known for Echo Reservoir, which is right above the town. It's low too, but it can't be used to help.
Taking water out of a reservoir for a drinking water system simply won't work. It hasn't been treated.
And while Echo is one of the first to nearly run out of water, the fear is it won't be the last.
We suspect that several of the very small entities might have a water shortage before the end of the year. And we hope that it ends as fast as it came, but it's about as bad as we've seen.
The Weber Basin Water Conservancy does say that there could potentially be other places before the end of summer that they have to do similar things that they're doing to Echo. But of course, we'll keep you up to date with the latest information. In Echo, Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Turning to weather now, the big concern right now is the air quality from all the wildfires here in the West.
We can see it behind you in that live shot, Allison. How long will the haze last?
So we'll have some form of smoke on and off over the next couple of days. We'll see a brief improvement late tomorrow, but let's go ahead and start with the currents. You can normally see downtown from our Olds Mill camera, so you can hardly make that off in the distance. Air quality here in Salt Lake is currently to the red level, which is unhealthy across the board. At the orange level for Cache, Weber, Box Elder, Davis, and also Tooele counties, and that is unhealthy for sensitive groups. So for people with heart and lung conditions, we're having a difficult time breathing today. Satellite and radar here across the state also shows you into eastern Nevada a few scattered thunderstorms. For tomorrow, a cold front is going to be arriving to end the week, so windy conditions for tomorrow with hot temperatures yet again. Right now, mid-90s for Salt Lake and Ogden, upper 80s for Provo and Logan, and for St. George currently 107. Tomorrow when you wake up, 73. By noon, 90 degrees coming up. Let's talk about that cold front, how much will cool down, if it will improve our air quality, and also if we'll see a chance for some rain.
We'll see you then, Allison. Now to another big story we're following this evening, the staggering number of COVID-19 cases in Utah. 1,050 new cases were reported just today. Also, 8 more Utahns have lost their lives. 4 of them were younger than 45 years old. The 7-day positivity rate is now more than 15% in the state. Vaccinations are starting to tick up, however. More than 8,300 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine have been administered since yesterday's report. A little more than 3,200 more Utahns are now considered fully vaccinated.
Meantime, daily COVID-19 vaccinations across the country have reached the highest level in a month. The FDA is also working to grant full approval of the Pfizer vaccine, which experts hope could encourage more Americans to get the shot.
They said hopefully by the end of the month. I hope it's even sooner than that.
Data from the CDC suggests that at the current pace, it would still take 6 months to get all eligible Americans at least 1 dose.
Following up now on breaking news we first told you about during Live at 4, Fox News reporting Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin is planning to announce a mandatory vaccine policy for all active duty personnel in the military. Austin is expected to make his recommendation to the White House tomorrow, with the official announcement coming on Friday.
Coming up, it's a big milestone in the war against the opioid epidemic. We'll explain what it is and why we still have a long way to go.
And we will hear from one of the women accusing New York Governor Andrew Cuomo of sexual harassment as calls for his resignation continue to grow louder. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Utah has now cleared a big milestone in opioid overdoses. The group Advocates for Naloxone says Lehigh police recently saved a person's life with the drug, which reverses an opioid overdose. It was the 500th life saved in Utah since police started carrying naloxone on them. Overdoses do remain the leading cause of injury death in the state. The United States saw more than 93,000 deaths from overdoses in 2020.
Disruptions for drivers and track riders near the University of Utah are expected for the next 2 weeks. UTA is replacing some of the train tracks in that area, so westbound 5th South from Guardsman Way to 15th East in Salt Lake City is closed. Eastbound lanes are reduced to 2 lanes. There will be a bus bridge between the 9th East Station and the University of Utah Medical Center Station. The construction is expected to last through August 18th. Utahns in need are now going to have easier access to mental health resources because of a car show.
And some really great classics on display here, like this one. It's called Cruising for a Cause. It raises money for co-pays for Utah families by showing off classic cars, caravan style. This is happening in Ogden. It's a partnership between Heiner's Insurance and Family Counseling Service. Last year, enough money was raised for 280 counseling sessions for Utahns. This year, organizers say the need is greater than ever.
Especially with COVID and everything else, we feel like mental health is really at the forefront of, some of the things people are going through and really need help with. So this is our way of being able to give back to the community.
And you have time to check it out. The caravan starts in less than 30 minutes, and about 100 cars signed up for the event. In fact, they do every single year. And 100% of the money donated to Cruising for a Cause goes directly to those co-pays for families in need. This is the 6th year for this really cool, unique fundraiser.
Still to come, senators say they've almost closed the deal on a $1 trillion infrastructure bill. How it could affect the roads, bridges, and the internet in your neighborhood.
And we just finished the hottest month ever recorded in Utah. But June was actually even more impressive. Coming up, we're going to show you the numbers for what you felt through the summer so far.
And when you can't watch Fox 13 News Live, you can always watch us streaming online for free. Find us on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Just search Fox 13 on your device. We'll be right back.
In national news, senators are voting this week on amendments attached to the bipartisan infrastructure bill.
Now they're trying to make sure every state gets something.
Everybody needs something. Everybody's going to get something. It's going to be done.
Senators are voting on amendments that could change the basics of the bill. Right now, it allocates $110 billion in new funding for roads and bridges, $65 billion for broadband, also $65 billion for rail, $55 billion for water systems, and $39 billion for public transit. But it is a 2,700-page bill.
Still reading. It's twice as long as the Bible. We got it Sunday night. We're amending a ghost. Everybody's furiously along with their staff. I mean, I'll never finish it.
Democratic leaders need 10 Republican senators to join them in voting yes, and right now they believe they have the votes. The authors of the bill say it's paid for by going after certain uncollected taxes, but Utah Senator Mike Lee is skeptical.
Many of the so-called pay-fors amount to flimsy budget gimmicks that in reality do no such thing.
The bill heads to the House next, where House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she won't hold a vote until the Senate also passes the massive $3.5 trillion human infrastructure bill.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is facing mounting pressure to resign following a 5-month investigation into allegations he sexually harassed nearly a dozen women. District attorneys around the state of New York are now moving forward with criminal investigations. The governor denied all of the allegations in a video released yesterday, but a former aide, Charlotte Bennett, says she does not believe the apology.
He clearly cannot accept responsibility for any of his behavior.
Some members of the New York State Assembly are pushing for immediate impeachment. The Assembly Speaker says they'll be moving quickly to finish the ongoing impeachment investigation. Post-pandemic summer travel is really heating up, but patience is melting. Hundreds of flights have been canceled, some at the last minute, for thousands of travelers nationwide. Spirit Airlines canceled half of its flights again today, stranding thousands at airports across the country since Sunday. Travelers from coast to coast were waiting in hours-long lines just to change their flights or merely speak to customer service agents.
This line, I started back there last night at midnight. I got to the front at 9 a.m. this morning.
Like, y'all just take. Nobody got no money like that after the year we've been through.
Spirit Airlines is blaming the travel nightmare on weather, operational issues, and staffing shortages, even though airlines received $54 billion to keep employees on the payroll. Spirit issued a public apology today, promising the number of scrubbed flights will, quote, progressively drop in the days to come.
Well, you felt it. July was the hottest month in Salt Lake City since the National Signal Service started keeping track in 1974. Now, the Signal Service was the earliest precursor to the National Weather Service in Salt Lake.
Looking in depth today, Fox 13's Max Roth takes us on a tour of a summer already breaking records. Max.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. You know, July was the hottest month on record, and amazingly, June was actually even more extraordinary. Now, the numbers you're about to see are the average of every day's high and low temperatures. And we're going to take you back in time a little bit further with a view of how average just doesn't seem to mean what it's supposed to these days.
Sizzling, a good word for the summer so far. Here are the average temperatures for the last 5 Junes. The second line is the 30-year average updated just last year, and below that the average from the 30 years ending in 2010. You can see how extraordinary June of 2021 was. Almost 9 degrees above that new hot monthly average. And here's every day of June this year. The baseline is the average temperature, and every number above it is the number of degrees above average that day. 27 of the 30 days were above average. 18 of those days were 10 or more degrees above average. So June sizzled, but July was on fire. At over 81 degrees, the average July temperature is almost 10 degrees above the average June temp of 71.6. Now here's every July for 5 years, all hotter than even the hot new average. And July 2021 edged out 2017 as the hottest month ever recorded in Utah. Here's how it looked day to day, just 2 days below average in the entire month.
85.7. That was the number of degrees that July averaged, the hottest month on record in Utah at Salt Lake City International. Now, the first 3 days in August, we averaged almost 6 degrees below average, but I'm guessing that Allison is not going to tell you that you should count on that to be a trend. Live in studio, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, let's go ahead and ask her that right now. The heat is definitely back.
Convenient that she's here
yes, they brought me in to answer that very question. And today, tomorrow, we're close to 100 degrees, and we're also really smoky. So in addition to dealing with a lot of heat here across the state, we're also dealing with the effects of wildfires, and these are all intertwined. These hot temperatures, the drought, fires that become more extreme, they're all certainly related to our changing climate. So our smoky sky forecast, the smoke that we currently have here across the state is mostly from fires burning off into the Pacific Northwest, and it's drifting further east. Through tomorrow morning, we will continue with some haze here across the state, but we're going to see a bit of a break by tomorrow afternoon into Friday morning with some cleaner air moving in from the southwest. But then after that, the smoke will continue. Air quality forecast for right now here in Salt Lake County, we're at the red level, so mandatory action by Thursday and Friday. The air quality forecast is to the orange level with mandatory action, which is unhealthy for sensitive groups at that orange level. And it's hot. St. George currently 107, 94 for Salt Lake and Ogden right now, 89 up in Logan, 89 for Provo, 89 in Price, and currently 91 in the Cedar City area. Now, temperatures and wind tomorrow will both ramp up a little bit. So right now, fairly light wind here across the state, mostly about 5 to 10 miles per hour, a comfortable breeze. And through the rest of the evening, we're going to keep a few showers along the Nevada border. That's what we're seeing right now. A little bit of lightning from Wendover down through the McGill area. These are mostly linked to the highest terrain. And for tomorrow morning here in Salt Lake, it'll be around 70 degrees first thing in the morning, into the 80s by 10 o'clock. Now, temperatures tomorrow will be about 100 degrees again, and we will have a chance for a few scattered showers here across the state by tomorrow afternoon. But that wind's going to pick up. We're really going to see some breezy conditions second half of the day, and that side we'll see a little bit of an improvement from the smoke. That smoke will return once that pattern shifts yet again. More of a westerly flow as we end the week. So storm threat for tomorrow up into Idaho and northern Nevada. That's where we're going to see our best chance, a marginal risk for some stronger storms. And then we look at the excessive rain outlook, and that best chance is off to our north to see storms that could produce flooding problems. So some reprieve tomorrow. I know a lot of you are maybe feeling a little anxious about that after the storms that we had a few days ago, but we're going to have hot temperatures tomorrow with breezy conditions, and then a cool down with the cold front that's going to move through into Friday. For St. George, that brings you to 102 for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And for the Wasatch Front, our cool down Friday, Saturday, close to 85 to 90, and then we heat up on Sunday at 97. Coming up, how much rain we can expect over the next couple of days here across the state.
Think of that vaccination as a part of your protective equipment, like a knee pad or a helmet.
As we gear up for back-to-school season, Intermountain Healthcare is turning its attention to student athletes. The message health leaders have so teens can be protected on and off the field from COVID-19.
A new study says Utah boys are getting twice the recommended exercise as girls. We'll tell you the researchers' reasons.
And some local high school football players are giving back in a positively Utah way. How they're earning their spot on the team, in a story you will only see on Fox 13 News. In today's Money Watch, CVS Pharmacy is raising its minimum wage to $15 an hour.
The pharmacy giant says it will begin increasing wages for hourly employees this month and hit the $15 mark by next July. About 65% of CVS's hourly employees already make more than $15 an hour. Those who do, such as pharmacy technicians and call center representatives, will also be seeing a wage increase. Several companies, such as Amazon, Target, and Best Buy, have also recently moved to a $15 an hour starting wage.
Listen to this. A beauty store brand is teaming up with a big box retailer. Target announced it's joining forces with Ulta Beauty to bring mini shops into Target locations. The shop and shop, as they're calling it, it will be near the existing Target beauty section already in store. It will feature more than 50 cosmetic brands. Now, the joint venture launches this month in more than 100 Target stores and online at Target.com. The plans will then be expanded to a total of 800 Target locations in the future.
Kraft Heinz says sales declined during the spring quarter compared to a year ago when shoppers were stocking up for the pandemic. However, Kraft Heinz earnings were stronger than expected. The company is forecasting a better year than it initially anticipated and says it'll come out of the global pandemic much stronger than it entered.
Taking a quick look at Wall Street now, the Dow lost 324 points to close at 34,793. The Nasdaq gained 19, the S&P dropped 20.
Ahead in our next half hour, parents in the Canyon School District, listen up. The district's back-to-school plan is out. What leaders are doing to keep students safe from COVID-19 this fall.
Plus, right now, Clearfield police need your help in solving a homicide. What investigators want you to know.
Today, Utah reported 6 times as many COVID cases compared to just a month ago. With school starting soon, cases among unvaccinated students are expected to rise.
Fox 13's Haley Higgins reports on the push to protect young athletes.
The upcoming school year will look different for Utah student athletes. Gone are the mask mandates and the required test-to-play COVID-19 testing for students participating in sports.
Protect yourself, protect your season.
Intermountain Health strongly recommends student athletes get vaccinated before going to practice.
You can think of that vaccination as a part of your protective equipment, like a knee pad or a helmet.
Nearly 44% of Utahns between 12 and 18 years of age have already received at least one dose. 1/3 are now fully vaccinated. Studies show the vaccine is even more effective in young people than older adults.
The younger you are, the better you actually respond to the vaccine. You create more antibodies.
While unvaccinated student athletes risk losing a portion of their season if infected, they also risk severe disease. Intermountain Health reports 1/3 of children who go to the hospital with COVID end up in the ICU.
We want to make sure that the kids stay safe.
For most Utah students, classes begin later this month. In Salt Lake City, Haley Higgins, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Classes at the Canyons District starting August 16th. And after going over recommendations with the local health department, the Canyon School District has released its back to school plan. The district says this year will pretty much be a normal school year. Masks will not be required. However, students and staff are still welcome, of course, to wear them. They're also encouraged to listen to the local health department and their doctors. Now, the same cleaning protocols from last year will still be in place to keep students safe.
The schools will be cleaned thoroughly throughout the day and into the evening hours. We're going to continue the regular electrostatic spraying. And that is where we use hospital-grade disinfectant to really make sure that all of our desks and tabletops and other high touch point areas get cleaned really well.
Students will also still follow a seating chart to help with contact tracing should someone in a classroom get COVID. The health department has also suggested rules for quarantining that the district has taken into consideration. The district is encouraging all parents to read through the back to school plan online and then send an email if there are any questions or concerns.
5 of the 11 Utahns who disrupted a Granite School District Board meeting in May appeared in court this morning. Angela Van Leeuwen, Deborah Arai, Jeremy Kawika Dunyan, Scott Scherner, and Andrea Jorgensen are all charged with Class B misdemeanors for their alleged roles in this case. The Granite School District says many of the protesters were part of the group Utah Parents United. There are warrants out for Scherner and Arai since they did not appear for their hearings.
The court's we're going to issue a warrant in the amount of $500. Find that is going to be necessary to secure the defendant's appearance.
If they are found guilty, they could face a fine of almost $2,000 and 6 months in jail. In southern Utah, a man is in the Iron County Jail in connection with an attempted homicide in Cedar City.
Police say they responded to reports of a shooting at the Motel 6 near 1620 West and 200 North at about 12:45 in the morning. Now, officers say they found a wounded man who was later taken to the hospital. Police were able to track down the alleged shooter, 19-year-old Jackson Saroff. He was at another nearby motel. Officers say they searched his room. They found the weapon used to allegedly shoot the victim. Investigators are now looking into a motive.
We're learning an arrest has been made in connection with the deadly shooting in Camas last year. According to court documents, 11-year-old Cash Cover was shot and killed in an accidental shooting at his home last June. Police have filed 1 count of manslaughter against the shooting victim's teen brother, who we are not identifying because he is a minor.
And right now, police in Clearfield are offering a $5,000 reward in connection with the homicide late last year. Police say 53-year-old Kelly Robert Bodley was shot and killed at his home on December 5th of last year. Investigators say there was no sign of a burglary, so it is possible Bodley knew the suspect. If you have any information that could lead to the arrest of the shooter, call Clearfield Police.
The Division of Wildlife Resources is updating the impact on wildlife from that concrete spill in Mill Creek last week. The DWR says roughly 300 fish have been collected during the cleanup, primarily from about 23rd East upstream to 36th East. They will be doing follow-up surveys, but from a sample the DWR did of the dead fish, it looks like the majority killed are native Bonneville cutthroat trout, with some tiger trout and some brown trout.
A new study out just this week says Utah boys are getting twice the exercise as Utah girls.
Brian Champagne checks out the why behind the difference and what researchers say we can do to even things up.
Some girls like to battle and compete. And some, like the Smith girls in Logan, don't. A study by Utah State University's Utah Women in Leadership Project says boys are getting 28% of the recommended physical activity and girls half that. One of the problems, according to the study, is those games that kids play at school PE are not the games that girls like.
The teacher would teach us the basics of sports and then play a game at the end of the class.
Basketball, tennis, volleyball, all sports like that.
Some girls and women are, like competition, but many do not. We don't take the energy often in our society to ask young women what they would like.
And Madsen says young women will ask for walking and hiking, yoga, and fitness classes. At Green Canyon High School, they can curl. Fitness gap reason 2, body image.
If a young woman's motive for fitness is to be thin, then actually other benefits like less stress are kind of lost.
The Smith girls are riding bikes because we asked them to so we could get some video. But they say they're active in summer.
Play in sprinklers, roll down hills, play on tramps.
I'm not really too worried about it, but I do bike around a lot, so I do get some exercise.
And Madsen says one of the best things parents can do is take their kids out and set a good example.
If they learn to enjoy getting outside or doing activities that get them to move, the research says they're more likely to keep more fit.
Brian Champagne, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The study finds the simplest way to get more young girls active is just by asking what they enjoy doing and finding a sport or activity that fits their personality, even if the activity is traditionally geared toward boys.
Coming up, Utah biologists stayed up late overnight catching bats at Antelope Island State Park. We'll explain why they were doing this when we come back.
And coming up, it's hazy out there right now from some wildfires out west, but I am tracking a cold front. So will that improve our air quality and will we see any rain? The answer is coming up.
You can say it was an eventful night for Utah's Division of Wildlife Resources as they worked to catch and survey bats on Antelope Island. Biologists set up nets and other humane traps to catch the nocturnal mammals at some of their favorite spots. One of those places is the historic Field Gar Ranch. DWR says the night started off slow. They got what they needed, though, in the end. Today on Fox 13 News Live at noon, Max Ross spoke in depth to Adam Brewerton. He's a wildlife conservation biologist, and he talks about why he does his work.
In Utah, we've got 18 different species of bats. In the northern part of the state, we don't have all of those, but primarily we're looking for which species occur and where we can find them.
Brewerton says bats are an incredibly important part of Utah's ecosystem, eating lots of insects and pests that can impact agriculture. If you would like more information on bat species in Utah and DWR conservation efforts, you can go to our website, fox13now.com.
A community garden in Salt Lake City is finally complete. It's at Richmond Park at 4th East and 6th South, just down the street from Trolley Square. The local nonprofit Wasatch Community Gardens helped put it together over the past year. We spoke with one Central City man who helped start the garden, and he says it's not only saved him a lot of money, it's really brought him closer to his community.
sharing the produce with friends really brings them together and also brings them to the garden. We have space for events that we're finally getting to use now after the pandemic.
For more information about how to sign up for a plot at the community garden near you, go to fox13now.com.
Pretty gardens.
It is beautiful. 2 endangered animals were celebrated at Loveland Living Planet Aquarium today.
Oh, and they may be some of your favorites. They're just so cool to stand and watch there behind the glass as they move about. Koshi and Rue is who I'm talking about, the clouded leopards. You see them there. They were part of a special training session this morning for International Clouded Leopard Day. The aquarium hopes they can raise awareness for the cats who have been harmed by unsustainable farming for palm oil in Asia.
If people can come here and learn about them, the hope is that they will take home a conservation message and that they will want to protect these cats and their natural habitat. These guys are great ambassadors for Southeast Asia, for the habitats that they live in, which are under threat actually.
Aquarium staff say the best way to help clouded leopards is to use an app called the Palm Oil app, and it tells you what brands use sustainable palm oil within their foods.
The high school football season is just around the corner. I'm John Franke in Payson. I'll explain the unique way that players here are earning their jerseys.
And later in sports, the Jazz pulling the trigger on a trade this afternoon to add another piece to what will hopefully be an upgraded roster next season. And Damir Kreilach receiving some much-deserved recognition ahead of RSL's date with the LA Galaxy tonight. Back in a bit.
We are so glad you could join us for Fox 13 News Live at 5. We are anxious to get rid of this haze and smoke out of the air. And
oh, yeah.
Fox 13 meteorologist Allison Krogan will be along here in just a few moments to talk to us about when that's going to happen.
In the meantime, the high school football season is just a few days away. I'm sure they'd like the smoke out of the air as well.
They would.
That football fields all around the state now, players are earning the right to wear the jersey of their school.
But one Utah County school is requiring their athletes to take another step before they can wear their school colors. Fox 13's John Franke is in Payson with a story that is positively Utah.
Under the light of the early morning, you'll find the Payson High School football team grinding toward the season.
We're getting up at 5 every morning to get here by 6, and it's a lot of hard work.
The players here, especially the seniors, are hoping 2021 brings better results than 2020.
The season just felt weird. We weren't really unified as a team.
A new head coach is now leading the way, one that wants his players to know the value of getting the job done.
I also want them, when they put that uniform on, that it means something to them.
To earn their spot on this field, when the Friday night lights turn on next week, the players have to spend hours doing something that has nothing to do with football.
This year, the coaches required JV players to have at least 5 hours of community service, and we had to get it signed by the person we did service for, and then varsity players had to have 7 hours.
If those hours aren't completed,
you're not on the team.
So all summer, players like Lane Osborne have been connecting with their neighbors, doing projects for others. Like this one at the home of Nan Theobald.
We were just, shovels, picks, doing it, 1 inch at a time, and the boys came for 4 hours.
The Theobalds wanted to start a backyard project but couldn't because big rocks in the ground would damage construction equipment. Those rocks were no match for Lane and his teammates.
We're older, and it was like, oh my goodness, they've just saved us, a lot of hard work.
That's just one of the many random acts of kindness completed by the team. Dozens of teenagers, each doing 7 hours of service, and you get a sense of the impact. They even take the time following practice every day to collect trash around the neighborhood.
It shows the community that we care, and we really do. We care for them.
The service projects may lead to more wins than losses this season.
This year we've had a lot more support already, and the season hasn't even really started.
Coach Mark Murdoch believes his players are setting themselves up to win long after their days on the football field.
Like, I treat these kids like my own, and I want them to be grown men and understand what it's like to worry about other people rather than themselves.
In Payson, John Franke, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Boy, good on those kids and their coaches.
Yeah. And their parents.
And their parents.
Team effort, right?
And their neighbors.
Yeah. Yes.
And brothers and sisters.
It's dry today. It's hot once again. And man, you can see the haze just blanketing the Wasatch Front.
You know what? I'll tell you, if you're here in Salt Lake County right now, we have the worst air quality here across northern Utah. Our Ocraquam, you can't even see the mountains across the valley currently. It's to the red level, which is unhealthy across the board here in Salt Lake. Orange level for Cache, Weber, Box Elder, Davis, and also Tooele counties. And orange does mean unhealthy for sensitive groups. So people with asthma, heart and lung conditions, it's a difficult day for breathing in those orange counties. An area of high pressure is located just to the southwest of Utah, so a clockwise fashion around that. It's going to shift further east as our next area of low pressure is going to move through and bring us a cold front into Friday. With that, we'll drop our temperatures down, a noticeable difference here across northern Utah, and we'll also see an increased chance for some isolated showers. Now, for today, we've got a little bit of lightning in eastern Nevada. We're not seeing any storms that are causing any problems right now, and I'm not anticipating any of that for tomorrow for northern Utah. I know after the last few days, especially as we ended the weekend, you might be hesitant to hear about some more chances for rain, but hopefully what I'll tell you will ease some of those concerns. Temperatures here across the state right now, mid-90s for Salt Lake and Ogden, and we're both at 94 degrees. 93 for Wendover, St. George currently 107, 92 for Moab, 87 for Vernal currently, and 89 degrees in Logan. Now, Salt Lake City today, 94 degrees. That's very close to average. 95 is a normal high. Today's record would have been 106 set back in 94, and that sun will set tonight at 8:40. Now, for overnight, temperatures will be just a tad above average here along the Wasatch Front for Salt Lake at 71. And then we'll have 51 degrees for Park City tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. So cool start there. And then for St. George around 79. And then by tomorrow afternoon, temperatures will be about 85 to 100 here across the state. Wasatch Front upper 90s, so it'll be another hot day tomorrow. And for Futurecast, chance for a few showers near that Nevada border this evening. Then for tomorrow, this is where our wind is really going to ramp up out of the southwest. So we'll see a brief improvement to the wildfire smoke as we're pulling some cleaner air in from the southwest. With this, tomorrow afternoon, the chance for a few showers across northern Utah into early Friday morning. And then we're drying out for this upcoming weekend. So 48-hour rain projection, not a lot here across the state. We're looking at mostly less than about 1/10 of an inch of rain for a few select locations, including in the Salt Lake Valley. Could see that trace amount of rain, but not expecting a whole lot. Now, if anything changes with that, of course, we'll keep you posted if any of those storms do start to produce some heavier rainfall. But looking at our week 2 outlook, our 8 to 14 day outlook for temperatures, we'll bring our temperatures just a little bit above average for week 2, and then we'll bring some drier conditions here across the region for week 2. For week 1, next 7 days for the St. George area, you're close to 105 to 100 degrees for most of the 7-day forecast. Tomorrow will be the hottest day in the next week. And for the Wasatch Front, 99 tomorrow. So wouldn't be surprised if we end up hitting that century mark tomorrow. Then we're cooling down into the mid-80s for Friday and Saturday. And then we'll heat back up into the 90s Sunday and into next week.
Later this month, RSL will be represented at Major League Soccer's All-Star Game, and by all reasonable standard, Damir Kreilach certainly deserves to be there. Kreilach, 7 goals through 15 games, leads the Claret and Cobalt, and he's second on the team in assists, a fitting tribute to a guy who's already been named team MVP twice over 4 seasons here in Utah. He is the 9th RSL player ever to be selected for the midseason showcase. The MLS All-Stars will take on Mexico's Ligations MX come August 25th in Los Angeles. Speaking of LA, Real Salt Lake visits the Galaxy tonight. There's a big 8-point gap between those two clubs in the standings, so a road win Wednesday would be welcome. A couple weeks back, RSL went up a couple of early goals on LA before settling for a 2-2 draw at home.
I think for us, it's going to be the message to go in, be aggressive, but not be careless, and really, limit their chances as they go forward, because they are a dangerous team, and they're going to have some of their pieces from the national team back. So, how do we, really, get the first goal? Because that's going to be important.
The Jazz adding to an already busy week of offseason moves, with today's acquisition coming via a trade. Utah dealing for Eric Paschall from the Warriors in exchange for a future second-round pick. An all-rookie first-teamer in 2019, Paschall averaged nearly 10 points a game last season in Golden State and is also a close friend of Donovan Mitchell. The Jazz have split up their roster into white and blue for their own summer league. The white, or in other words, the A-team, beat up on the Spurs last night thanks to 19 points by Trent Forrest, who you may remember played in 30 games with the Jazz last season.
I definitely feel like the games that I played last year helped me just with my growth as a player. I mean, my coaches, they've been just talking to me about the situations that I would be in this summer and kind of how those situations that I had then would kind of help me. So, I mean, just kind of learning and getting better.
Summer League Day 2 underway with Jazz Blue facing the Spurs. Tough shot, Maceo Teague to beat the shot clock. And then Allman glides in here for a bucket. Jazz currently up at the half over at the Viv. The Utah Grizzlies have re-signed a Utah native. Mason Manick of Harriman is on board for the 2021-22 season in West Valley after lacing up the skates in 9 games a season ago. The 21-year-old graduated from Harriman High back in 2018. The first and only head coach of Utah lacrosse is stepping down. Brian Holman finished with a record of 12-20 over 3 seasons in the program's transition from a club sport to an NCAA-sanctioned sport. Holman had coached at North Carolina and Johns Hopkins before that. And finally, Utah football underway, guys. Day 1 of fall camp, where we will have reaction from the first round of Camp Kyle tonight at 9. A lot of question marks up on the hill this summer. Weber State also beginning practices today. Utah begins the season at Weber State September 2nd.
Camp Kyle, I heard it's a tough one.
Oh, yeah, he runs a tough ship over there for sure.
He gets results.
He does.
Camp Kalani is tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow, Utah State on Friday. Yeah.
There you go. Here comes college football.
Thanks, Morgan. We'll be right back.
Well, it's going to be hot in St. George tomorrow, close to 110, near a little bit cooler. That's because a cold front is going to move through the region late tomorrow into early Friday. For the northern Wasatch Front, area, northern Utah, mid-80s Friday and Saturday. So enjoy the cool time.
Little cooler. I always laugh this time of year. Back to school, they have all the fall clothing out in the stores, and it's like, oh man, you won't need that for a while.
Yeah.
We'll see you at 9 o'clock.